Welcome to Harmonious Clan's live parenting coaching replay. We do our live coaching every Friday at 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 11:30 a.m. Central, and 12:30 p.m. Eastern on Facebook Live. Louisa will answer your questions, help you walk through your struggles, and provide you with strategies you can apply now to bring out the gem that is your child from that diamond in the rough.
Hi, I'm Louisa Kasha, author of Outcast Outstanding, and I'm here with you again every single Friday at 10:30 Mountain Time on Facebook Live doing free coaching. This is a time when I get to share all of my strategies and I answer all of your questions. Feel free to send me email during the week or just go to harmoniousclan.com to submit any questions you have so that I can address it during our Friday sessions. And I'm here every Friday. My background, a little bit about my background, I'm actually an engineer. But nowadays, instead of engineering technical problems, I engineer creative solutions, out-of-the-box solutions for out-of-the-box children. Where did that come from? I've worked with children for years and years, and I always have had the passion for it. As young as when I was in college, I have spent a lot of my time tutoring students that were out of the box, and that's when parents call me. And I've also I've continued working with the children all the way until I have my own, and I have 5 children, almost 6. They are all of them have some kind of a special needs that require creative interventions for them to thrive. um, so this is where I developed a lot of my strategies. When people ask me, how do I do this? How do I do that? I'm here to answer all of those questions and share my strategies with you. Today, I'm going to talk about thriving the holiday with your out of the box child. Many times I get a lot of comments from parents and people. I get a lot of questions from parents about how to thrive the holiday. How do I survive? Because the thought of the holiday is just so hard for many of us parents that have out of the box children. You seem to can't even take your children anywhere. You can't really find a sitter that really get them. And those family gatherings or friend gatherings, holiday parties seems to be a really tough situation for the children. And it's pretty common that parents wind up with, showing up at a party dressed all pretty and leave in a meltdown and those kind of situations that cause a lot of stress. Today, I want to share with you strategies on what you can do so you can have a great time with your holiday and your children will be able to participate those activities that are very difficult for them and still be successful and thrive. So I have about 4 tips to share with you today. Number one, we are going to pre-teach. All of my strategies come from a lot of front loading ahead of time. We're not going to wait until after the party and in the middle of the party or 10 minutes after we show up, the child has a meltdown, has a problem, to feel sad about ourselves. We're going to ahead of time, we're going to go into this with your child successfully, ready, knowing what you're looking for. So number one is we need to pre-teach the expectations. We need to pre-teach the expectations. Actually, let me write down the title of what I'm talking about today. It is about thriving this holiday with your out-of-the-box child. Okay, so again, we're going to be preemptive. We're going to come out, front load the child, let them know what to expect. Pre-teaching is a big part of it. You need to give them the expectations about where are we going, who is going to be there. These out-of-the-box children have a lot of anxiety, and just bringing them to a party where you don't know what to expect is very difficult for them. So we're going to really prepare them for it by letting them know where are we going, who's going to be there, what's going to happen, what are you going to do, what am I going to do. So it's probably typical that the adults are going to be visiting, chatting with one another. Children, there may be some things to do for children, there may not be, but depending on what it is, whatever it is, you need to let your child know ahead of time. And you're also going to talk about expectations. So you're talking about expectations in terms of what can your child expect from this event that you're taking him or her to. You're also going to talk about expectations in terms of what you expect from your child as in terms of his or her behaviors. So you talk to them about, okay, so a lot of children, whatever it is that typically happens. For example, some people have a struggle with their kids getting in trouble with other kids, their kids not being able to share toys and other things, take turns with other kids. That's something that needs to be talked about ahead of time, that there will be other children there. There may be enough toys to share. They may not be enough. There may be things that you want to do that other people want to do as well, that we have to take turns to do, and we can't be pushing. And you teach them there's the skills for how to deal with that. What happens if you go there and you want to play with something, another child is already playing with something. What can you do? Right? You want to ask them those questions ahead of time, front load them with skills and strategies ahead of time, so they don't have to resort to punching, hitting, crying on the floor just because they can't get to what they want to get to. They need to be prepared with, okay, well, I can wait. Well, what could you do while you wait? Maybe you can find another friend to play with. Maybe you can find another toy to play with. Run through scenarios for what's a typical challenge for you, so they know what to expect. You want to leave no surprises. If you are going to leave surprises, you're going to want to let them know, hey, I'm not sure about this or that. Either this or that will happen, but either scenario, we're going to be flexible. Talk to them even about the surprises that may happen. And 2 and 3, strategy 2 and 3 have to do with taking care of the needs. And this is where, in my book, Outcast Outstanding, where I mention a lot of the behavior being just the tip of the iceberg. And under the waterline, there's a ton of things. There's a ton of reasons why they're behaving in a certain way. Why do they out of the blue come out and punch somebody? There's a ton of reason under the waterline that I went very deeply into the book. But one of the things that I addressed there were their internal needs. We have to meet their internal needs before we can realistically set expectations on their external behaviors. Remember, we gotta meet their internal needs before we can raise the bar on external behaviors. And we can, as long as we're hitting the internal needs. So these two, number one is we need to get the sensory input or the exercise that they need. Size/sensory input. So a lot of these out-of-the-box children are highly, highly sensitive. That means there are various sensory areas that they need input on. If this is one of your children, if your child needs a lot of proprioceptive input in order to keep them regulated, whatever it is in terms of their sensory input that they need to keep them regulated, you need to get that taken care of prior to leaving the party. So this is prior to leaving your house. For us, for example, I've got some boys that need a tremendous amount of proprioceptive input. And those are the joint compressions, the heavy work exercises. They absolutely need that. They so much remind me of my old chocolate lab, where he wouldn't be able to sit without chewing stuff, without having run for 2 hours. So every day we go and run him for 2 hours, an hour, fetch, whatever it is, until his tongues are dropping out. He's so incredibly tired. My boys actually remind me of that dog that I used to have. So we run them, right? I mean, we go to the backyard, we do whatever it is that they need. We get that done prior to the party, because during the party, if their needs aren't met, you're kind of done. And unless you're gonna check yourself out of the party just to take them and meet their needs, you're done there, right? Those are kind of um, the part of the reasons for the meltdown. You need to have their sensory cup full prior to even leaving the house. So you need to do that. For each child, it's different. I mean, some children need tight squeezes, some children need certain amount of soothing. You got to discover what it is that your child really needs. There's more information in my book, Outcast Outstanding. I spend a couple big chapters on explaining what these internal needs may be for your children, their symptoms, what they're showing, that would tell you what they may be needing. The fourth strategy is, I'm sorry, the third. The third one is their physical. Again, it's physical and no empty stomach. Okay, we take our children to a party. We know there's going to be food in there, and so we let them go hungry. No, you cannot do that. Before you leave the house, you need to feed them, and you need to feed them with enough protein that we can stabilize their blood sugar level. So what you don't want is the child showing up at a party very hungry, and now they want to eat something sweet. So of course, at that time, your blood sugar level is low. You're going to want to find something sweet to eat, which is going to give them a spike. Some children react to that sugar reaction behaviorally, so during that spike. And then after that, they have a crash because now their blood sugar is low because they don't have enough protein and fats to keep that sugar level steady. So you're going on a roller coaster ride with their sugar level, with their blood sugar level. And that's how they're going to respond. Their behavior is emotional. They can't tell you that's what's happening, but that may be what's happening inside of them. So no empty stomach. You need to show up with feed. Can you see my writing? You need to feed protein ahead of time. Feed them with some protein ahead of time. So when they show up, they're in a good, steady blood sugar level like this. And if they want to have a little bit of sweet, depending on whether or not they are allowed to have it. I mean, some children are gluten sensitive or food coloring sensitive. You need to talk about that ahead of time. That's all part of the expectations. If you're always having to have a power struggle with them about how much sugar they can have, that needs to be covered during your pre-teaching. So when you get there, everything's already known. Sure, you can have the one cookie that we discussed or whatever it is that you discuss. They can have some, but they already have some protein in their body, and they won't be going through that roller coaster of sugar spiking with you. And the other thing about this is it needs to be done during the pre-teaching. What they are or are not allowed to eat needs to be talked about ahead of time. This also helps you prevent that power struggle. I mean, many times I see it in parties when children are coming up. Okay, well, can I eat this? Can I eat this? And the parents are always, you're trying to socialize, you're trying to hang out with your friends, you're trying to spend some time with your friends and family, and the kids are coming up and they keep wanting to have what they want to have, and they've had enough sugar for that day. They shouldn't have any more of it, but it's just, you're going to set up a tornado if you tell them no and you put your foot down, right? So those are the things that needs to be taught ahead of time to have an agreement about. Number 4, you're going to want to pack very well. Pack well. So if you bring a baby to a party, you have your diaper bag, you have things in there, you have your bird cloth, you have all of that. Well, if you bring an out-of-the-box child to a party, or if you bring any child to the party, you need to pack well for them as well. It's your diaper box. It's your diaper bag for the baby. Depending on what's going to be there, right? Certain friends are going to be there that they're going to want to hang out with. Maybe there may be other children that they would come into conflict with, that they don't have enough social skills to resolve, and you're either going to be prepared to be there for them, as in you're not going to be hanging out to the full extent of as other parents or people without kids, or you're going to teach them ahead of time what to do and pack some things that they could do should they get into situations where either there's nothing interesting for them, they're kind of bored, or they go into a conflict with somebody and you really need to get them out of the situation and do something else. There's also the potential that it's really overwhelming. I mean, these anytime we have social gathering, it's very difficult for these kids because sensory wise, you're talking overload. Everybody's excited, everybody's talking, there's food everywhere, there's talking everywhere, and it's just to even stay there is difficult for these children. So when you pack for them, you're going to want to think, and this is very specific to your child. You know, if they get into a situation like a typical situation, you know your child the best, you know what they do well and not do well during these gatherings, and you also know what may be a trigger for them, right? So ahead of time, I mean, if you need to get some soothing activities, I mean, such as Play-Doh. So this is activities, alternative activities. So if you need to get, you may need to pack some Play-Doh that's soothing, where they can take to a corner for a few minutes of calming down time, for a few minutes of gathering. You can go to a quiet corner to go do that. You may want some art supplies. You may want something simple, easy, that can really help them get grounded and calm back down before things get out of control. We're all talking about prevention. We're all trying to have a great time here. We're trying to prevent the whole meltdown point of it. So you can have alternative activities. People always ask me, wow, your children are so well behaved when we show up at these things. Of course, it's definitely not 100% of the times. I mean, I've had meltdown kids that I have to drag out, but a lot of it is because we prepare them very well for what's to happen. We met their physical sensory needs. We are keeping their blood sugar under control, and we're packing well for in case, you know, they're just a little off, right? They're a little off and they need a little time alone, or they need a little time to get grounded into a certain, to get engaged into a certain activity. So they're not out. They're busy kids. I mean, if you don't keep them busy, they will keep themselves busy. And sometimes the choices of what they have to keep themselves busy are great, and other times you may not like those choices. So make sure you provide enough choices for them. I actually have a fifth one having to do with something to look forward to after the party. We want to put yourself in your child's shoes to once again understand that this is pretty difficult for them to be in this kind of environment where the adults are just hanging out and the kids are kind of on their own, right? So you want to you set your expectations behaviorally, but you also want to give them something to look forward to after the party. So maybe, you know, if you meet all of these expectations after the party, we get to go do this. I mean, whatever it is, that's something that would be soothing, relaxing after a few hours of overstimulation. Anything that they would enjoy, anything that would seem nice to them. I mean, it could be going out to coffee with you and them getting a hot cocoa, whatever it may be. It may be spending a little special time with you. It may be playing with a certain toy that they want to play with when they get home. Whatever it is, you got to give them something to look forward to. And this is sort of a reward for having great behaviors during the party. This is sort of something that they can look forward to. And this is also going to be your great transition strategy. So many children do just great during the entire party until mom says, we're going, we're leaving. That's when the whole meltdown, the throwing of the toys, and all of that happens, we can't get to that point. So prior to leaving, if within the next 20 minutes, you're going to leave, you talk to them about what a great job they did, um, reaching all of the expectations you talked about throughout the party. You need to stay connected with them, not just here. Number 6, you need to stay connected. Okay, so connected in the sense, very intentional positive reinforcement. Anytime you see them, okay, letting another child take a turn, get out of your conversation and you do need to step away from it and just real quickly, a pat on the shoulder. Hey, I saw that you wanted to use that, but he was there and you waited, you were so patient. They need to know that you're connected with them in a very positive way. You need to be sending positive energy to them so they feel connected to you through the entire party, even though you're hanging out with your friends and they're just kind of off doing whatever all the other kids are doing. But they know that you're noticing them for every good deeds that they have, right? So at that time, you stay connected. You really acknowledge all of their desirable behaviors. And when it comes to transition time, it's really, thank you so much. You did everything we talked about. We're getting ready to leave in the next 20 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever time your child needs. And maybe you could do this one last thing. And then we're going to say bye-bye to everybody. We're going to use our manners and thank our host and all that. And, if we do a great job transitioning out, we get to go do this something, whatever it is that we set ahead of time that we're really looking forward to. So it's not like a party is coming to an end when you transition. It's not like they're so heightened up and so excited. All of a sudden, you need to shut this down. They just cannot deal with that difference in emotion. So you kind of need to help them bring their emotions down to a winding down from this activity to we still have something else to look forward to, but we're going to have a mellow transition. If transitioning out of the party is something that your child struggle with, that's also something that needs to be talked about ahead of time. So you can thrive during your holiday gatherings or any activities that you have during the holidays. You just really need to ahead of time do a lot of preparation work with your child. And that's not going to be forever. I mean, you're going to do this for a period of time. We're probably talking about a few months, a year. Every time you go somewhere, you're gonna prepare them, but you're helping them with their own executive functioning. When you do your pre-teaching, you're helping them think, okay, so what would I do if this happened? What would I do if that happened? You're helping them through problem solving, troubleshooting in their brain themselves prior to the activity. So when it comes time, they can utilize what you thought, and they may not always think of it. They may need a reminder again during the time, but you do that to prepare them. And they, at the time that a situation happens, they may recall, yeah, we talked about this. This is what I do. And if it doesn't stick just 1, 2, 3 times, you will keep doing that over and over. This is your effort to teach them how to function in these sort of social functions. And slowly through this sort of guidance and coaching, they will do better and better. But we're not looking at the next day transformation. If you can do this just today, your very next party will be a lot more successful than without all this front loading. And if you do this every time, they will slowly get the gist of how to manage myself during these situations. And that's our goal, to teach them to be independent and to be able to have a great time and enjoy things in life. That is the strategy I wanted to share with you today. I only have a few minutes left, so I'm going to hit one question that came to my mailbox this week. It was about fidgeting nonstop with the hands. So I have my 8-year-old daughter is just starting to fidget nonstop with her hands. She will fidget when she talks. She will fidget anytime when she's listening, talking in class. Her teacher is saying that it's highly distracting. And what can we do? So when it comes to fidgeting kind of behavior, we're looking at meeting the needs sensory wise. I mean, the first thought is there could be some anxiety going on that we need to talk through about what have a look, deep dive into her life to see what has changed, what kind of anxiety may she be reacting to. Additionally, you do need to meet the sensory needs. So if she has a need to be fidgeting with her hands, depending on the type, and you're going to have to test this out. Is she the type that can, if you just let her fidget, then now she can listen to you much better if she has something to do with her hands, she has something to do, or no. I mean, many of the children, even though they fidget, but they can't actually focus when they do it. So you have to figure out if this is a case where you need to feed her with some sort of a fidgeting thing that she can do with her hands while she's listening. You really want her to concentrate, or is it something that needs to be done ahead of time? Prior to her class, prior to you needing to talk to her, so that she can, when it's time to talk, you can actually focus. So again, for this, I would draw a chart with an expectation of how we need to behave when we're talking to people, but you really need to feed her sensory seeking needs ahead of time. So get a lot of play sand, kinetic sands are great. Get Play-Doh, get all kinds of tactile things for the hands. I mean, play with, what is it? Shaving cream, play with sand, kinetic sand, play with dirt. You need to feed that sensory needs. I do have one of my children like that. When you feed the sensory needs ahead of time, in between, throughout the days, they may need to be fed throughout the day for that time, for that sensory need. And then when we sit down and we need to learn something, we need to do some work together, I fully expect the hands to be calm like this. And I have a drawing about that where they need to do this with their hands, so I know they're truly attending. So you can meet their needs at a separate time and still expect that when they are listening to you, they're truly attending with their hands like this. Time has run out, so I will address any questions that I didn't get to next week. During the week, go ahead and send an email to me, Louisa, Luiza at harmoniousclan.com. Any questions I get, anything go over, bring it here, we'll solve together. Again, my name is Louisa Kasha, podcast outstanding, a lot of strategies to manage out of the box children that I'm sharing with you every single week on Friday at 10:30 Mountain Time. Also, go to harmoniousclan.com to check out our educational parenting podcast and ebook on managing behaviors for children. We're in this together. I have gone through my path of struggling with different children issues, behaviors, and I'm here to share my strategies with you. So shoot me an email. Check out our podcast and follow us on Facebook. And this is it. Happy Thanksgiving. I will see you next Friday.